Birdman is talking the most gangster shit you probably ever heard him drop.
I mean, well, that, you know, Birdman gonna talk his talk because he walked that walk.
He's basically saying that, you know, he's totally down to get you killed.
NBA YoungBoy just did something nobody saw coming. After publicly dissing Birdman, calling him out for never loving him, these two Louisiana legends linked up in New Orleans. And what happened next had the entire internet losing their minds. The link up and the snake hit. Before we get into this fire, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you stay plugged in. This story got everything: bars, bread, betrayal, and two Louisiana OGs whose whole situation got the culture watching mad close. Back in 2018, Birdman announced he was cooking up a collab tape with YoungBoy, calling it a bridge between generations. This wasn't just cap for the blogs. Stunna saw something in YB that reminded him of Young Wayne back in the day. He started gassing YoungBoy up publicly, calling him a billion-dollar artist, comparing him to Tunechi himself.
I think NBA YoungBoy might be the biggest rapper. I said that 5 years ago.
What you mean big when you say big?
Ain't no gonna be bigger than NBA YoungBoy. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
He the biggest.
Let that marinate, gang. Birdman, the same cat who built Cash Money from the mud, was putting it on wax that YB was gonna be the biggest in the game. And at that point, YoungBoy was barely 20 years old, still a young bull. Their collab work dropped in December 2021 with the tape From the Bayou, a 10-track banger that peaked at number 19 on the Billboard 200. Joints like 100 Rounds and We Ride had that raw energy, YB's melodic pain mixed with Birdman's street boss talk.
But I'm just saying, when that little boy get his mind right and he come from under this and understand who he is, because you know, Thugger and all them, they up in age. They 30, it's 20.
But you think that he going through ain't doing that but helping him to his path to do that though?
Of course.
Yeah.
We put it behind the wall, they become smart.
Yeah.
They ain't making them nothing but a monster.
This looked like Louisiana royalty merging, fam. The old king passing the torch to the young goat. But low-key, something else was brewing under the surface. Here's the real tea on Birdman that you gotta understand. His track record with artists? It ain't clean, gang. Cats like Juvenile and Manny Fresh been calling him out for years about shady contracts and bread they never saw. The most famous example? Lil Wayne himself, who filed a whole $51 million lawsuit against Cash Money back in 2015 over royalties and album delays. And peep this, Wayne actually tried to put YB on game about Birdman. On his 2020 track, Multiple Flows, with Lil Uzi Vert, Weezy dropped a bar that would prove prophetic. And I had told YoungBoy to watch out for old heads. At the time, heads brushed it off. YB and Birdman was thick as thieves, dropping projects, shooting videos, doing the whole family flex. But Wayne, who knew Stunna better than almost anybody on this earth, peeped something the rest of us couldn't see. To really get the full picture, you gotta understand what YoungBoy was going through during this stretch. His whole career been intertwined with catching cases. A robbery charge in 2014 had him in juvie, and from there it was assault charges, kidnapping charges, all types of heat. In 2020, federal gun charges from a Baton Rouge arrest put him in serious jeopardy. By October 2021, he was on house arrest in Utah. Couldn't tour, couldn't perform, couldn't really move freely at all. This a young cat generating millions of dollars, but he was basically caged up in his own crib. And throughout all this, where was Birdman? That's the question that started eating at YoungBoy's mental.
It feels like you have a real good connection with Birdman. You know, you guys done some projects together.
5. You're my 5.
He's a good guy. How's your relationship blossomed throughout the years?
He just dude crazy. Like, he just talk a lot of shit, and I just like to sit there. And they're my 5. I like when he pop that shit, man.
Yeah. Beatrice.
He been on that nigga too, so. That's the same type of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, about it, for sure.
Peep that, at this point, YB was still showing love to Birdman publicly. But if you was really listening to his music during this era, you could hear the frustration building in the bars. That feeling that maybe all them promises was just cap. By 2023, Birdman was still publicly riding for YoungBoy against the ops. When Joe Budden went on his podcast and called YB's music trash, Birdman came through with threats, telling Budden to shut your f***ing mouth. On the surface, this looked like an OG protecting his young boy, like a big homie checking somebody who disrespected family. But behind the scenes, the energy was shifting in ways the public couldn't peep. YoungBoy was dealing with house arrest, federal charges, prescription fraud investigations, and the weight of being one of the most prolific spitters in the game while being locked down. He was stuck in Utah watching other rappers tour, perform, and get their bags while he sat on the sidelines. And the question that kept hitting his dome: where was Birdman during all this? Where was the mentor who called him family? Where was the support that was supposed to come with that relationship? See fam, here's what people don't always understand about these industry relationships. When an OG like Birdman takes a young bull under his wing, there's an unspoken agreement of guidance and protection. But that guidance ain't just about making hits together or appearing in videos. It's about being solid when things get ugly, about using your juice and your connects to help when your family member is struggling. And from YB's perspective, that support wasn't materializing. He was fighting legal battles, dealing with confinement, watching his movements get restricted, and the cat who called him a billion-dollar artist seemed more interested in the future profits than in helping him navigate the present struggle.
Birdman was also on the tour, like basically every stop. What was his role on the road with you?
Just chilling. Being unk.
Being unk?
Just chilling.
You got like a favorite memory on the road with him?
Every moment.
Every moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's somebody that's been with you since you were about 16. What does he mean to you?
I think you should ask him. Do you want to get some fresh air?
That interview dropped in 2025 after they squashed the beef. But to understand why that reconciliation was even necessary, we gotta talk about what went down in June 2024, the moment that changed the whole game. Because that's when NBA YoungBoy dropped Tears of War, and the entire hip-hop world stopped to hear what he had to say about the man he once called fam. The diss that shook the culture. June 2024. NBA YoungBoy sitting in Utah, going through it with another legal situation, a prescription fraud case that would eventually lead to federal charges. He'd been on house arrest for years at this point, watching his career from behind the walls of his own crib, and something inside him just snapped. He hit the booth and recorded a track called Tears of War. And when DJ Academics premiered that joint, the bars hit like a bomb. Knew that Stunna never loved me, should have listened to Carter. Let me break that bar down for y'all who ain't hip. Stunna is Birdman's nickname. That's what the streets been calling him for decades. Carter is Lil Wayne, Dwayne Carter. So what YB spitting is crystal clear. Birdman never really showed genuine love, and he should have listened to Wayne's warning about dealing with old heads in the industry. This wasn't subliminal, gang. This wasn't some vague reference that bloggers had to decode. This was a surgical strike straight through Birdman's whole reputation, and the entire culture knew exactly who he was aiming at. The reaction was immediate and mad heavy. XXL magazine ran headlines about YoungBoy claiming Birdman never loved him. Hip-hop blogs dissected every bar of the track, breaking down the references and connecting them to years of industry history. The socials went crazy with commentary, fans, critics, and industry heads all weighing in on what this meant for both artists. The timing of the drop was crucial too. YB released Tears of War right as he was dealing with federal raids on his Utah crib and the prescription fraud case that would eventually catch him a 23-month sentence. He was at rock bottom personally and legally, and that's when the truth spilled out about how he really felt. There's something powerful about that, fam. When somebody at their lowest, when they facing serious consequences and got nothing left to lose, that's when the real feelings come out. YB wasn't trying to start beef for clout. He was expressing genuine pain and betrayal he'd been carrying for years. And here's what made this diss even more savage. Birdman stayed ghost. He ain't respond publicly. He ain't drop a response track. He ain't even put out a statement through his people. He just stayed quiet, letting the storm rage without adding to it. Some heads interpreted that as boss moves, letting the storm pass, not giving it more energy, taking the high road. That's one way to look at it, and it's probably what Birdman's advisors told him to do. Stay quiet, don't engage, and eventually the news cycle moves on, but others peeped it differently. Birdman's silence, to a lot of fans, looked like he was guilty as charged. Because when you've been in the game as long as Stunna has, and somebody accuses you of being fake, the natural response would be to defend yourself. You'd want to set the record straight, explain your side, show receipts of all the ways you held that person down. The fact that Birdman chose not to do any of that spoke volumes. Either he couldn't defend himself because the accusations was facts, or he was told that any response would only make things worse. Either way, the silence was loud as hell. Now, if you thought YB's diss was the finale, you was wrong, because there's another player in this story that most people don't talk about, OG33, YoungBoy's big bro and co-founder of Never Broke Again.
All right, here we go. We got OG3, the founder of NBA, aka Never Broke Again, and older brother of NBA YoungBoy.
You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, where we come from. And it's like the mentality that they see us, when they see us, is like, hold on, let me back, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we give like that back off standoffish vibe.
I think now they gonna really understand how I'm coming. Like,
peep game. OG33 ain't just YB's blood brother. He the engine behind the whole operation. He the one who helped build the Never Broke Again brand from the mud, and he been watching Birdman's moves this whole time with side eye. In a viral live session around November 2025, OG33 came through with a direct and aggressive warning. Hey, I don't give a expletive who a expletive think they gonna go around me. Soon as be able to get around. Snake anything, rake anything. So anything y'all thinking, expletive, think 3 times expletive, cause you're gonna be missing your expletive head. Like with any major beef in hip hop, other industry cats started weighing in. Wack 100, the outspoken manager, called YoungBoy a rat after the diss, suggesting that going at Birdman publicly violated some unwritten street code. But here's where it gets complicated. The same Wack 100 who criticized YB has also been vocal about the patterns in the industry, the way OGs use younger artists and toss them when they ain't useful no more. So his position felt contradictory to a lot of heads watching this unfold. To really understand why YB's diss hit so hard, you gotta peep Birdman's history, gang. There's whole videos breaking down Cash Money's history of not paying artists their bread. We talking Lil Wayne, Juvenile, Manny Fresh, Tyga. The list is crazy. When Wayne sued Cash Money, a 2016 court order forced Birdman to pull up with his financial records, revealing what a lot of people described as messy bookkeeping and trash accounting. The cat who built an empire on the backs of talented artists couldn't even keep proper receipts. And now here was YoungBoy, the next generation, spitting the same thing. Birdman never really loved him. The pattern was repeating itself, and this time, the artist was speaking up before it was too late to recover. What made Tears of War even more powerful was the context behind it. YB wasn't just dissing Birdman, he was processing real trauma and betrayal. The track was recorded before federal raids on his Utah crib related to prescription fraud charges, adding mad emotional weight to the whole thing. Here was a young cat who trusted an OG in the industry, somebody who called him family and promised to guide him, only to feel abandoned when the pressure came. And unlike previous generations of artists who stayed quiet out of fear or contractual chains, YoungBoy put it all on wax for the world to hear. Through all this smoke, YB kept dominating. By 2025, he became the most RIA certified rapper of all time with 126 plaques, surpassing legends like Drake and Jay-Z. His numbers was undeniable, gang, and here's what's crucial about that. YoungBoy achieved all of this while on house arrest, while fighting legal battles, while being what he calls blackballed by the industry. He ain't need Birdman's connects or Cash Money's machinery. He built his own empire.
Nobody likes to work with me.
Why do you think that is? I was singing earlier before we started, your song Blackball is one of my favorite joints of yours. And a lot of your fans would say that you have been like blackballed in the music industry. What does that term blackball even mean to you? Like, what do you think of when you hear that? What does that mean to you?
I don't think it's that no more. I think I don't know. That might not be my caliber of person.
That response tells you everything about where YB's head was at. He wasn't bitter about getting blackballed, he transcended it. He ain't need industry politics when he had a direct line to his fan base. Now this where the story gets even darker. Fam. Birdman's brother, Terrence Gangsta Williams, been making wild claims about inappropriate parties involving young male rappers, including references to both Lil Wayne and YoungBoy. These allegations, largely unsubstantiated and been criticized as tabloid cap aimed at getting clicks, but they added another layer to the narrative around Birdman's relationships with young artists. Whether true or not, the mere existence of these claims contributed to growing perception that something wasn't right about how Stuna moved. And that shift in the power dynamic is exactly what made the reconciliation that followed so surprising to everybody watching. The link back up and what it really means. August 2025, New Orleans. The same city where Birdman built his empire. The same blocks where Cash Money was born. NBA YoungBoy and Birdman spotted together on Canal Street, hugging, throwing racks to fans, walking together in bulletproof vests with armed security surrounding them. The two Louisiana legends who'd just been at each other's necks, now appearing to be thick as thieves again. The internet lost its whole mind. Social media and X went stupid with people celebrating the reunion, using phrases like squashing beef and praising them for getting back on the same page. But was this really squashed beef, or was something else going on? Here's what went down. In 2025, YoungBoy got a presidential pardon from Donald Trump, freeing him from the legal chains that kept him locked down for years. For the first time since his legal troubles started, YB could actually move freely, perform, and hit the road. And hit the road he did. The Make America Slime Again, Massa, tour became the highest grossing rap tour of the year, pulling in $70 million over 42 US dates and selling 555,000 tickets. YoungBoy was finally able to connect with his fans in person, and the response was insane. But here's the wild part. Birdman was there for basically every stop. When asked about Birdman's role on the tour, DJ Academics revealed that Birdman explained he was there to make sure YoungBoy didn't fuck up the money. Stunna was positioning himself as a mentor and protector, somebody who wanted to make sure YB capitalized on his moment. The reconciliation wasn't just behind closed doors. At one of YoungBoy's shows, Birdman was screaming and going crazy on stage, hyping the crowd and supporting the performance. They even ran We Poppin' live together for the first time.
Oh my goodness! I'm sorry.
Fans captured moments of Birdman turn up, jumping around, clearly hyped to be part of YB's show. And to a lot of observers, this looked like genuine reconciliation. Two cats who had their differences, but found their way back to each other. Aight, this where we gotta pump the brakes and look at this situation with a critical eye. The internet is divided on what this reconciliation actually means, and honestly, there's valid points on both sides. On one hand, you got heads who believe this is genuine growth and maturity. YoungBoy older now. He ain't the same 18-year-old kid who was signing deals and trusting everybody who called him fam. He'd been through the system multiple times, spent years on house arrest, got a presidential pardon, got wifed up, got mad shorties, and experienced the highest highs and lowest lows this industry can offer. Maybe he reached a point where holding on to beef just ain't worth the energy no more. Maybe he realized life too short to carry grudges, especially when there's so much bread to make and so many opportunities to chase. That would be a mature perspective, and it lines up with what he said in interviews about not wanting negativity to consume him.
But do you think you tap into that emotional side? Because, I mean, I would imagine because of the name Slime Crop.
Yeah, but not too emotional. I don't really get too hurt about things no more.
What you mean?
I don't know. I'm just older now, so a lot of things that used to like hurt me back then used to make me like want to rap and you know. I just don't make that type of music. I don't go that deep because I ain't that hurt no more.
That's growth right there, gang. That's a man who processed his pain, dealt with his emotions, and came out the other side with a clearer vision. And if YB genuinely feels that way, maybe this reconciliation is as real as it looks. Maybe he just moved past the hurt and decided having Birdman as an ally better than having him as an op. But then you got the skeptics, and they making valid points too. Peep the timing of Birdman's reappearance. He slides back in right when YoungBoy embarking on a massive tour, generating tens of millions. He there at every stop, getting on stage, being part of the show, associating himself with YB's success. Birdman been talking about YoungBoy being a billion-dollar artist and suggesting deals worth 200-300 million on the horizon. That ain't just praise, that's positioning. That's a business calculation about how valuable this relationship could be. So the question becomes, is Birdman there out of genuine love and concern for YB's well-being? Or is he positioning himself to eat off the next phase of YoungBoy's career? Is this mentorship, or is this opportunism dressed up as family? The truth probably somewhere in between, like it usually is with complicated relationships. Birdman likely does have genuine love for YoungBoy. They known each other for years, made music together, shared experiences that create real bonds. But that don't mean there ain't also a business calculation happening at the same time. In the music industry, love and money stay intertwined in ways you can't fully separate. The reconciliation already produced new collabs. In 2025, they dropped FK That Nia, featuring Hermthaw Black Sheep, an aggressive joint that fans described as Birdman ain't rapping, he telling MFS what it is. But here's what we can't ignore. OG OG33's warning still stands. He made it crystal that if Birdman tried to snake anything or interfere with their independent operation, there would be serious consequences. So even if YB and Birdman cool on a personal level, the business side of things getting watched very carefully. The NBA camp ain't gonna let anybody finesse their position, and they made that abundantly clear. So let's circle back to our title. NBA YoungBoy just bodied Birdman in New Orleans club. What does that really mean given everything we discussed? Bodied in hip-hop terms usually means dominated, exposed, or destroyed. And while there wasn't a physical altercation between YB and Birdman, the term fits in a different way. YoungBoy bodied Birdman lyrically with Tears of War. He put the entire relationship on blast, referenced the warnings he received, and made it clear he felt betrayed. That's a form of bodying someone, exposing their character publicly and forcing them to deal with the fallout. But there's another interpretation. When YoungBoy got mobbed by fans in the French Quarter after his New Orleans show, when he walked through the streets of Birdman City with the kind of love and adoration that most artists only dream about, he bodied the narrative. He showed that despite everything, the legal troubles, the blackballing, the industry politics, he was still the king. And Birdman, he was there, but he was there as a supporting character in YoungBoy's story. That's the real body. YB set to headline Rolling Loud 2026 and planning a European tour, his first international run. He dropped Slime Cry to insane numbers and got plans for up to 4 projects in 2026. So what's the real takeaway from this whole story? What can we learn from watching this situation unfold between 2 Louisiana legends? It's that the hip-hop game is changing in fundamental ways, and this story is a perfect example of that transformation. The old models of exploitation, where labels and executives would finesse young artists who ain't know any better, who were so hungry for success they'd sign anything put in front of them. Those models getting challenged by a new generation that refuses to take L's. Artists like YoungBoy, who own their masters and got direct relationships with their fans through platforms like YouTube, got power that previous generations couldn't even imagine. They don't need the traditional industry machinery to win. They can build empires independently, and that changes everything about how the business operates. Think about it this way. When Lil Wayne had his issues with Birdman and Cash Money, he was fighting from a position of weakness. Yeah, he was a superstar, but he was also contractually bound, financially tangled up, and dependent on the label's infrastructure to drop music. His leverage was limited. YoungBoy, on the other hand, went through his conflict with Birdman from a position of strength. He could drop Tears of War without worrying about contractual retaliation because he wasn't bound to Stuna the same way. He could speak his truth without fear of getting shelved because his audience would follow him anywhere. That's a completely different dynamic, and it should give hope to young artists entering the game today. You don't gotta accept exploitation as the price of success. You don't gotta stay quiet when you're getting done dirty. You can build your own platform, maintain your independence, and still achieve historic levels of success. Make sure you smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more content like this. And let me know in the comments what you think about this situation. Do you believe the reconciliation is genuine, or is there still beef simmering under the surface? Do you think Birdman really changed his ways, or is this just another chapter in a long history of complicated artist-executive relationships? Until next time, peace.